Hey everybody, this is LVA Toro, the Fancy Action Now, and we're going to take a look at. I haven't been excited about a film in a very long time. So, again, I'm a huge fan of the David Lynch film. I have read all the books, all of them, from the original one, Children, God Emperor, Chapter House, you name it, I have read it if it has to do with Dune. Okay, so I am a fan. The most loyal subscribers on this channel are known as the Fedaykin. So let's dive in and have a look-see. The spice must flow.
There's something happening to me. There's something awakening in my mind. I can't control it.
It's a young Paul Atreides.
What did you see? There's a crusade coming. Do you often dream things that happen just as you dreamed them?
A holy struggle. A jihad.
The test is simple. Remove your hand from the box,
And you die.
and you die.
This is my Gom Jabbar.
Pain. You inherit too much power. You have proven you can rule yourself. Now you must learn to rule others. Something none of your ancestors learned. My father rules an entire planet. He's losing it. He's getting a richer one. He'll lose that one too.
Oh, brother.
Arrakis is a death trap. Kill them.
That works both ways.
They're picking my family off one by one.
Let's fight like demons.
An animal caught in a trap will gnaw off its own leg to escape. What will you do? I know you. One day, the legend will be born. All of civilization depends on it. The future. I can see it. I must not fear.
Fear is the mind killer.
Fear is the mind killer.
My Lord Duke.
Where the fear is gone,
Only I will remain.
only I will remain.
Go, go, go!
So we'll leave it there. So you have a very, very impressive, trailer. So it's funny when you go back to the dichotomy of when you read the book and you're a fan of the book. You have your own visualization. That's why everybody says the book is better, because their own imagination is more accurate to them, right? So it's not that the book is better, it's that they have their own visual interpretation of it, and to them, because they created it themselves within their own minds, it is the better. So so I try to when I see a film that supports a book series or anything, any kind of favorite item of media, when it's recreated, I do tend to try and disconnect a little bit from my own visualization to appreciate the visualization of someone else. Now, David Lynch's incredibly Baroque vision of Dune in 1984, and you got to remember that film came out in 1984. Okay, so 1984, which was a year marked as a jumping off point for totalitarianism from George Orwell's book. Again, George Orwell is a pseudonym. So George Orwell writes a book called 1984, which it talks about the beginning of totalitarianism. So, and the movie Dune, which is a political film, and it's a political book series more than anything else. So, yes, it's known as a science fiction novel, but it is truly a political treatise. Okay, so 1984, again, supposedly science fiction, but it's really a political treatise. So there are ties to 1984, the book 1984, and to Dune in the periphery, certainly. So, and there are other convergences that occur between those two stories. So this trailer, I kind of want to go back and watch it again, but the Bene Gesserit during they've, you know what's really funny is they followed the original Dune trailer quite closely, like the David Lynch movie trailer. They followed it quite closely. The Bene Gesserit interview of Paul Atreides, where is key. It's really the fulcrum, because they have a foot. The House Atreides has a foot on two worlds, on their home world of Caladan, which later on just becomes shortened to Dan, and then the planet of Arrakis, which is known as Dune. And Dune is essentially an analog, and the spice is an analog for petroleum. A lot of people don't realize that, but everything runs on the spice. And in our current economy, in our current world, everything runs on oil, war, shipping, transportation of all kinds, money. The American dollar, which is the global exchange currency, is a petrodollar. It is tied to oil sales. And again, a lot of people don't realize this. You have to buy American dollars to purchase oil on the market. So if you just so you understand how our world works a little bit better, let's say you're France. Let's pick up, relatively powerful, rich country. Let's pick France or Britain or Germany. If Germany wants to buy oil, do you think Germany wants to buy oil? I think so. Every country that has any kind of infrastructure requires petroleum to operate. Germany has to take their Deutsche Mark, right, and purchase American dollars. They actually have to buy our currency. That's what keeps our economy propped up. They actually have to buy our currency and then purchase the oil. And it's called the SWIFT system. So a lot of people don't know what that is either. But so every country on the planet has to buy our money. Okay. And if you're still wondering why you got to pay your mortgage off in 30 years, they really got you. They really got you. But what I'm trying to say is, our entire world, and this was no different than when Frank Herbert wrote Dune, our entire global economy was based on oil. Why do you think Germany was in northern Africa? They were there for the fuel, for the petroleum. That's what runs a war machine. Okay? And all of the oil was coming during the time of Frank Herbert. All of the oil was coming out of the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, which is a desert. Get it? Okay? So the most important substance to this day, I think they're trying to replace it now as the technology gets better. With battery technology and electric technology and solar technology, the technology has finally got to the place where we can say, okay, we can wean ourselves off somewhat of oil, but it is going to be a major, major thing for a very long time. So regardless of what you feel environmentally, the entire world runs on petroleum. And petroleum, by the way, is the source of plastic. I don't know where people think plastic and nylon comes from. How much plastic and nylon do you have? I mean, just a video game. The case is plastic. The disc is protected in plastic. The laser paper that the game is imprinted on is a petroleum product. Everything that look what's on my head right now. It's plastic. That's petroleum. If you don't have petroleum, you don't have plastic. And if you don't have plastic, we're back to the Stone Age. Okay? Regardless of what you think about plastic and, plastic water bottles and, off-gassing and seeping into the water and all this other stuff. Great. Right. Okay. Yeah, some of that's legit, but oil runs our world. And whoever controls the oil controls the world, and the United States controls the oil. That's what happened after World War II. We took control of oil production across the globe. And we've never, we to this day, we still hold control of it. So the analog for oil or petroleum in the world of Dune is the spice. Spice is used for travel. Spice is used for medicine. It extends life. It expands consciousness. The spice must flow. So anyway. So it is the most critical resource in that world or in that universe or whatever you want to call it. Just like petroleum is here. So whoever controls the spice controls the galaxy. And is an irresistible siren song. So the House Atreides is trapped into a impossible position where they must abandon their home planet, and they have been given the contract to run Dune, which is traded through the different houses, basically different countries, essentially. They've been given control over this. Very similar to like the control of Afghanistan. I don't know if you've noticed it, but they call Afghanistan the graveyard of empires. And everybody has had, every major power in the world has had their hands in Afghanistan. And again, what comes out of Afghanistan primarily? Well, now lithium, which is in every battery that we use in our cell phones and everything else, but poppies, opium, heroin is created from opium. So Russia had it before us, Britain had it before them, and on down the line, every great empire of the world has controlled Afghanistan from time to time. And now our time in Afghanistan is drawing to a close. And what I would predict is the next controller of Afghanistan will be China or India. India's the dark horse over there. I keep looking at India. They keep India relatively quiet, but they've been keeping China in check like a mad recently, and it's interesting to watch. So, but anyway, so the next empire, the next major global or world empire, will control oil and or Afghanistan. Just notice that. Just look at the history of Afghanistan and the occupations. It has always been occupied. It has always been occupied by a major power. Russia, U.S., Great Britain, and others. And you're going to see, I think you're going to see China make a play for Afghanistan, or India make a play for Afghanistan. So, and again, whoever controls the oil and whoever controls the opium, controls the globe. Okay, so this trailer is very promising. I like the character of Paul Atreides, although he reminds me of the Dark Jedi from the most recent films, the Vader analog. He looks like him. I don't know if it's the same actor. It looks like him. They obviously got the thick dude from Guardians of the Galaxy to play the Beast Raban, who is who takes over on Dune, and who Paul Atreides is positioned against after the fall of his house. So it's interesting. It's interesting. But back to, and I'll close off on this. And this was a lot of fun for me. So what I will close off on is when the Bene Gesserit mother. The Bene Gesserit is an order of women that see themselves as the husbandry of the human race. So they find people with certain genetic traits, and they make sure that they marry and or mate with people with complementary traits to improve the breed. So they're basically trying to breed out animal and breed in human. That's how they refer to it. At one point in that interview, Paul says, "Are you suggesting the son of a duke is an animal?" And she goes, "Well, let's say that I suggest that you are a human." So humanity to them is the highest order, and it can be achieved through selective breeding. That's what they do. They are, and what they do is they offer educational services to people of high genetic value, right? So that they focus on the best of humanity, and they try to manipulate the DNA through natural means, not through scientific manipulation, through natural means of pairing different men and women together to produce offspring with a certain characteristic. And they're trying to produce a super being called the Kwisatz Haderach, the person who can be in all places at once. And they do succeed, and they do succeed a generation early. They predict it's going to take them so many generations to achieve this super being. And they have the ability, the Bene Gesserit have the ability to use their genetic memory to look at the experiences and literally speak to, in their mind, their ancestors, but only through the female line. So as a Bene Gesserit, after you go through what they call the agony, you can reflect back on your ancestors and actually speak to them telepathically somehow, because essentially the idea is that all of the genetic code and memories of everybody you've ever been is actually in your body, and it's just a matter of putting yourself into using the spice to extend your consciousness to be able to access those memories, and you actually can internally speak to your ancestors. So let's say your father is let's say you're a woman and your mother is dead, and then you go through the agony via the spice, and then you're able to basically speak to her from her, and she is the person she was up until the day she died, and you can get her advice, you can access her memories, and it's pretty wow. Okay. So the Bene Gesserit have that ability, and they're trying to create a man who has the ability to see in both directions, that can access the memories of both their father and their mother, and they wind up creating something that nearly destroys them. But at any rate, Paul Atreides becomes the Kwisatz Haderach. Spoiler alert. Anyway, so, but in the interview with the Bene Gesserit mother, she says, she asks in the trailer, and I probably should have began this little diatribe with this statement. She says, what would you do? An animal that was caught in a trap would chew its own leg off to escape. What would you do? Well, if you watch this video, I'm going to give you the answer. In the book, what the Bene Gesserit mother says is a human would lie in wait, pretending to be more injured than they were, for an opportunity to kill the hunter and remove a threat to their kind. So the human would think, this man hunts my kind. I must destroy him to protect my people or my civilization or my group or whatever. It's like my individual life is unimportant. I have to eliminate this threat to my family, my people, my community. That is the human answer to that question. So I gave you the other half. You had to wait to the end, but I gave you the other half of that question. So I'm looking forward to this. I will support it. It looks like they've given it. See, that's the thing. If you're going to do this, just like Lord of the Rings, and that's why a lot of people that protect the property of these writings, they won't let somebody put out they won't let somebody put out a schlock film on it. Thank God for them. We don't get as much as we would like, but they insist, the people that, these foundations and or these I'm trying to think of the word, but it's like the kind of like the after the author is dead, the estate, like the estate of Tolkien and the estate of Frank Herbert, they don't allow schlock to be attached to these writings. Thank God for that. Now, you don't get as much as you would like. You don't get as often as you would like. You don't get the game. You're not constantly seeing games and movies and stuff because they insist on a level of quality. So that's why I think this movie is going to be given its due, and I think it will be a wonderful retelling of this immortal tale. There is so much information here in Dune, in both the movies and especially the books, on the way the world works. Again, reading is probably the most important weapon in succeeding in life. If you're going to have a sword and a shield in this world, read, and you will find your way to some very important lessons and learnings. So, at any rate, this is LVA Toro, the Fancy Action Now. Looking forward to this. It looks like it's been given its due. Very excited. We'll see you soon.